This I will read. Service to humanity is service to God. When the word God is included in this or in humanity, it is in the nature form that the Creator is all the time after love, after human care, after, upholding and respecting the human race and generally the entire universe. So once in a while, it is always good to get ourselves to that point. And I mean, you hear this every other time. What is this that you're doing to benefit the society? You go for an interview, you say, this is what I've done, this is what I've qualified to do. But the question then will always come, how then is what you're doing benefiting the society? That generally is service to humanity. And so today we have this incredible story of one Bishop Dagana Munyiri, who's the executive director, GOA International. GOA is a Glory Outreach Assemblies International that, is an incredible story that speaks of an individual who's dedicated his life to making the best of life for other people who thought they had lost it all. And so we'll be delving deep into understanding just what happens when someone decides to take that angle and what it is that his organization does and of what benefit has it been to the people. Good to have you, Bishop.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time. I've been following up on what it is that you do, and I think it's an incredible job. But then I feel like, the world out there should get to know this. Mm-hmm. And even as they get to know this, we need to see the genuineness that comes along with this, because many a times as individuals, as a people, we tend to meet different people who purport to have a great faith, say the politicians, or have the interests of people at heart. But in most cases, it is contrary. And you find that we end up being disappointed. And sometimes people have questioned whether indeed humanity does exist. Good to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
So what does GOA International do, even before we come to your story?
Thank you so much. GOA International stands, as you have correctly said, Glory Outreach Assembly.
Yes.
This is it's an organization that I personally started in 1991, May. So we have just begun our 30th anniversary.
Wow.
This month. And I started this when I was a teacher at Karima Girls High School in Nyandarua.
Right.
I was teaching the girls in the national school there in Kinangop, Nyandarua, and I was serving within my capacity as a teacher.
Right. And
while serving as a teacher, I was still interacting with the community and wanting to impact the community. With time, I realized that the changes or the impact that I had brought about within a school could continue without me.
Being a teacher?
Yes.
Oh, why not?
And,
okay.
And because there are many more who could do what I was doing.
All right.
And I had, of course, raised disciples to do the Christian part.
Okay.
And the Teacher Service Commission was still employing people, so that part could continue without me. So I focused more on the community, and I just wanted to see that change in the community. Of course, when I was going out to the community, initially I thought I was only concerned with the community around the school.
Right.
Because sometimes we think of only the area where we can see. But as a person who believes in God and prays, God continued to guide me into a bigger and bigger vision. So I ended up starting a ministry that focuses on 4 areas. One of those is taking the gospel, particularly to the unreached people where they have never heard of it, where we go and take the gospel through building the bridges. If they have no water, we drill the boreholes. If they have no education, we build the schools. If they have they have never had the opportunity to do adult literacy, we do adult literacy. Hospitals, then so that is the church part. Of course, we have to plant the churches in areas that already have other churches, so that they could become the springboard and the bridge by which we connect those who have and those who don't. Because
let's not take it very fast.
Okay.
And go back a bit.
I go back.
And when we're talking about this, we think money, we think resources, we think availability, we think time, and we think, support and all that.
Yes.
And then one would want to argue, and sometimes people question this a lot, because most of the people will tell you we are in that line of, philanthropy, in the humanitarian side, but we always tend to question, how does it start? You cannot tell me that yes, with the benefits that you you gathered after saying that you now are leaving the teaching profession, you could be able to say that this is working. Yes, you say there is that grace that has been incorporated, but just what got you out of this space of Nyandarua to give you the stamina to go farther and farther, and just how far did this go?
Yeah, that's a great question. You see, when the motivation within me,
yes,
is to serve humanity, and that's our subject today.
Right.
And that is what drove me out of the teaching profession, because I had opportunities to serve the girls in the school. The most I could do is when their parents come.
Yes.
It is probably girls and the parents, but that is the largest population that probably I could reach. And I always think, my thinking process is always along the lines of sustainability.
Yeah.
So when I'm serving the school, I was still asking myself, if I was not going to be here, who would this continue? And how would it continue? So I focus more on building teams, raising the disciples, investing in people. And I started teaching in that school in 1st of April 1988.
Wow.
And by 90, I already felt that I had raised enough
2 years
people.
only.
Yes, it is because my focus when I get into a community, I believe in people investment. I believe in equipping people.
Okay.
I believe that people are the best resource of every organization.
And speaking, before you even expound on that, one would want to ask, sometimes it's not always easy to make these bold decisions, yeah? Because that would be looked at as a bold decision. When we're talking about service to humanity and service to people, survival also comes in. And so here you are, you're leaving a well-paying job. I mean, in most cases, people looked at, the teaching profession as everything that every other person would want to land into. And 2 years down the line, you decide otherwise. In life, we don't always get that bold feel that we can do and proceed to do what it is that we term good for ourselves. How did that happen? What really was this driving force?
It is a process.
Yes.
And it did not happen within 2 years. It only worked in me through the 2 years. But I ended up working until 1998, which is 10 years.
All right.
But within the 10 years, I was serving within the Karema Girls High School, and I was also serving within the community.
Right.
And when you want to serve the community, there is always that decision of balancing between what you're doing. So I was balancing between the work in the school, which, as you say, was my pay, was my salary, and I had a family, and the call that I also feel outside, and within the balance. Then within 10 years, I had raised enough people who could continue within the work in the school, and the work outside in the village, a place called Donyunjeru in Kinangop, had already started growing to other areas. So within the 10 years, I had already planted churches in places called Bushi, Tigoni, different places, Nyeri, and now to divide myself into being effective was not very easy. But you ask a good question: how do you get to that point? It is a process. It's not easy. As a human being, you want to be sure that you will be able to meet your obligations as a father. As also a minister of the gospel, you want to take care of your family. So it is difficult, and it's not easy. But God was speaking to me, and throughout those 10 years, those were moments of listening to God, making the decisions, praying about it, and of course, as I make those decisions, there is that conviction from within that I want to serve humanity, and that's what is in my heart. So this particular point of 1991, it was so clear that God wanted me to have a bigger vision than just the Karema Girls High School, and create a framework through which I would serve humanity, a legal framework, a social framework, a framework that I would work with other teams. That is how Glory Outreach Assembly came into being, to become that framework. And as we went by, God made it very clear that there are 4 areas that I was to make an impact in the service of humanity. As a human being, I wanted to do everything. I am that kind of person who don't want to see a problem and not fix it. That's just me. If I can do it. So but as we went on, God went on narrowing down to 4 areas. So I focus on 4 areas. That is the church, the church, we call it church growth.
Yeah.
Church growth has to do with all the things that goes on with the church. Then compassion, it's about the orphans and the children's homes and the schools. Then the other one is leadership development for the sustainability again, because you need to have develop leaders if you are going to sustain an organization.
Yeah.
And the fourth one is peace building and conflict resolution. So I narrowed down to those 4 areas and became very strategic in my service to the community. And every team that I built around for those 4 areas. And of course, the teams that I built are based on people's understanding the vision of the impact that I want to do, and it has been quite a journey.
Quite a journey, I must agree, because well, I am not in it, but I can tell you I have been alive to the fact of what has been happening in our own churches, in our own spaces of service, and in spaces of where you want to go out there and serve humanity. And sometimes you could be having that drive, but then the reception is not always good. I'd love for you to tell us your experience in terms of the reception in the different areas you've toured, the different people you've met, the people who would be considered to be backward, the people who would be considered to be rigid, and here you are, you're coming with a doctrine, here you are, you're coming with, the visions, the 4 visions that you have, just getting them to loosen up and welcome this. What is the experience?
Life is about overcoming obstacles if we are going to be successful on anything. And when God gives you a vision like he gave to me for GOA, I knew very well that there were obstacles. And these obstacles start from the point of right from within you. As you said earlier, you begin to ask yourself, okay, God wants me to reach these 4 areas of church, compassion, peace building, leadership, but do I measure up to that? So you begin with your own personal feeling of inadequacy, which you can work on as you develop yourself and build capacity. You move on to external forces like even people who are near you. Personally, I had teachers who are good friends of mine in the school where I was teaching, who even came to me to sit me down and say, is everything okay with you?
I would do the same thing.
It's a look at the children, they're just young.
And family would question that, I want to believe.
Yes. The children are just starting the nursery school by then, but then when God speaks, he speaks. So there is that obstacle that comes from friends, the people who are near you, the family. Parents, of course, would say, we thought we educated you to come and help the family and help yourself. Right. Now you are going to church whereby you need help. Actually, I remember the teachers were so candid and so blunt with me. They said, if you leave this job, do not expect to be bringing cards to us to fundraise for you, for your own children and for your own church.
Yes.
And I said, that's fine, that's good, that's a good challenge. But I trusted God and I believed in God. But the obstacles have always been there, as you said. So they are all over the place. There are obstacles that you meet when you go to take the gospel to the Turkana, where we are doing a lot of work, to go to a different culture and introduce the new message there. But I think one of the greatest challenges is the challenge of the resources, because to be able to serve humanity, you need to really have the resources to be able to
and I mean, that would be my first question, because most of the time we ask, where does this guy get all these resources to go and carry this huge load from Nyandarua, from wherever, all the way to Turkana? And when you go to Turkana, most of the times you're told, if these people have to listen to you, and not just Turkana, but across the board, you have to come with incentives, you have to come with goodies, you have to come with, reason, tangible reason to get them coming to listen to you. This is where now God comes in. Okay. Because when God gives you the vision, he gives you the provision for it. And there is when there's no vision without provision, probably the resources might delay. You might have the vision earlier and take long before you get the provision for it. And there is no time that you will ever feel that you have enough financial resources for the vision you have, or enough people to do what you want to do. You'll always feel, I wish I had more teams to do this. There's no time you'll ever feel you have enough time
to do everything you want to do.
Yeah.
So those three resources are just a question of stewardship. Otherwise, when I pray and trust God to give me the resources, I also move out and do the fundraising for the sake of the vision. And that is one of my greatest my greatest jobs in terms of spending my time. I go talk to the people, I go talk to different people, I cast the vision. When I cast the vision, there is someone who would really want to support an orphan, but they don't know how, they don't have the time, but they have the money, they can take care of that orphan.
Yes.
So we become partners. There is someone who would really want to go to Turkana, but they somehow they don't feel they can get there. So they say, okay, can we go with you? You go because you are able to go physically and you can be there.
Yeah.
But we can go with you through financial resources. So it is a question of the part of the resources is building partnerships, building partnerships with people who have shared vision. Because service to humanity, it is something that is in every human being.
Okay.
Because we are created by a God who loves us, and we are all human beings. Inside every human being, there is service to humanity. The problem that we have is how we develop that. The problem we have is how in the environment in which we grow. The problem we have is the exposure that we get to it, and how we feel overwhelmed by whatever service is. So when I cast the vision, there will always be that person who will say, either they need me to serve them, or they will need to partner with me to serve others. Those two people will always be there.
Okay.
After every conversation, there will always be somebody saying, oh, I have this child who has no parents, could you take the child?
Wow.
And those are the majority. And they need to be served.
Yes.
Of course, I don't take all of them because I don't have room for everyone. But there will always be that person who is saying, oh, okay, I may not take a child myself, but is there any way I can help? So because we are naturally human beings, that's why we are human, created by a God who loves us and who has brought humanity in us so that we may serve others. And if it were not for the conflict between the evil and the good in the society, this world would be a better place for everyone. And that is why it is so important that we are having this conversation, because I strongly believe that there should be more people serving humanity.
And sometimes the challenges and the fear of the unknown. So like God will say, go ye to a land that I will show thee. And so you're going, you probably do not know where to start. You are meeting people from different cultures. Your culture and theirs differ. They speak a different language, but you still need to go and serve these people. You still need to go and speak to these people. You still need to go out there and make sense.
That is where our faith comes in.
Yes.
That's where faith comes in. In 1991, God spoke to me when I was teaching in a very clear and audible way and said, go make disciples of all nations. Very clearly from a scripture in Matthew 28, 19 and 20. Go make disciples of all nations. How? Teach them, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And I went back to the question that you asked me earlier. I said, God, I don't even have a passport. How do I go to the nations?
Okay.
That feeling of inadequacy and that you don't measure up in the service. Then I said, how do I do this? How do I do this and that? And human beings feel that way all the time. But the moment you respond by faith and say, here I am ready, I'm willing to obey, and then God begins to help you to move forward. Like Turkana, for example, it was in a conference that we did right here in Nairobi in May, and we said there are people in this country who are not reached with the gospel. Yet here in Nairobi, the churches are as close as a stone throw away. And the problem we were having here when we were having that conversation is that we could not even hear each other clearly from the church, because on this side there's one, on this side there's
Sometimes
another.
you sit at home and you're able to listen to the sermon. You really do not have to get to the church building.
Yes. Sometimes people would actually get lost from the stairs.
Yes.
Or they wanted to come to this, but they went to the other one.
Different.
So we said, Lily, what is this all about? And in those conversations and meetings, we said, there are people in this country. They are human beings. They need the same gospel. They are Kenyans. The God also loves them. He died for them like he died for all of us. And that's how he decided. We're going to do something among the Turkanas.
Okay.
And we just went by faith, not knowing anybody there.
I can imagine the excitement. So
Yes.
this is a new thing. Sometimes we just read in history books. So the white man came, they were carrying this on this other side, they were carrying a Bible on this other side. We probably were not privy to that experience, but these people are experiencing this. What is this one, incredible thing that happened that probably you looked at as a turning point, and it probably gave you hope that you can keep pushing this gospel, or you can keep pushing this great work to these people?
First, when we got that challenge of how we are living here and having conflicts within churches and noise,
Yes.
and decided that we started to start with the nearest. We thought Samburu Maralal is nearer, so we went to Maralal first, and the Maralal people looked at us and said, what is this Jesus you're talking about?
Wow.
And it is in this country. Here
Is
we
it
are
so?
fighting, here we are competing, but there they were asking us, which is this Jesus you're talking about? They say, they told us, come, we show you. They took us to where the first president who had been, the Kapinguria place where they had been taken,
Yes.
and said, could this be the person you're talking about who fought for us?
Are you serious?
Yes, in this country, and it is not long ago, it is 2003. It is in 2003.
Okay.
If he is that important, why have we heard of this one who was jailed here for us and not him?
Okay.
And those are serious conversations. And from 2003, as we speak today, in that area of Samburu, in every village, over 25 churches there for GOA are growing, with a self-supporting, self-governing, and they are taking the gospel among themselves. So we got so inspired and challenged at the same time. When somebody says they know the first president but they don't know Jesus, that really was a big challenge to us when we know how much we are competing here. Then we came back and said, oh, that worked very well, and why don't we go to Lodwar? Lodwar was a bit far, and we went to Lodwar. In those days, there was a lot of insecurity to travel. You had to reach to Kitare, then you buy the relief food because they'll not welcome you if you have no food. Then you take policemen to administration police for security, because there was a lot of there is the days of the shifters and the Pokoti and the Turkana fighting at a place called Kainuku. You could not pass there. So, and the road was so bad. So we went and reached there, and when we reached there, we started asking, whom can we work with here to just serve your people? And almost everyone we talked to directed us to one person. They said, we only know one person here, and he's called Missionary John. He's the one who serves us. He doesn't care who you are. He gives us food. He preaches the gospel to us. So they directed us to him. And come to think of it, the Missionary John is today the member of parliament for Turkana Central in his second term.
Okay.
So he held us. He was so happy. He was just a local person by then. He said, oh, we've not seen many people who will help our people. So he took us to the village. And we went to a village 85 kilometers away from Lodwar. People are 3/4 naked, probably the way they were born. They've never heard the gospel, no clothes, never been to any school.
Not anything from any religion.
Nothing. And we asked them, what is it we can help you with? They said, if you can get us water so that our women and children do not have to go to the Turkana for water every day, we would really appreciate. If you can get us school so that our children can be like those ones of Kenya down there, where they go to school, then we would really appreciate.
Okay.
And if you can have some among you remain here to be teaching us this good word, that of course they were asking for church. So they were asking for school, water, and church. That was October 2004. As we speak, they have all those. We have over 30 churches there built and planted, more than 10 boreholes where people get the water, 3 primary schools, including adult literacy, where an adult comes to you and tells you, I just don't want to know much about learning for anything, just to read the Bible.
Gumbaru.
I just want to read the Bible.
Okay.
Just
because I mean it's the only book that I know.
Yeah, just and if you hear that the motivation of an elderly man like me to go to class is to read the Bible, then you must do something about this.
Right.
So when God gives you a vision and you obey it and you walk by faith, because this is when our faith comes in. When God tells you go, you start going towards Marala, you have no clue what is there. You start going to Lodwar, you have no clue what is there. But God makes a way, and he provides a way. So today, 30 years down the line,
it's a good story.
I could not think of anything else to do other than serve humanity.
Well, Bishop, probably we're going to have you some other time to get to understand this, because then I'd want to imagine the scramble that is in existence today, well, with different religions trying to speak their own, trying to say that this is better than the other, Christianity is better than this, and all that. And I mean, the very same ears are listening to this. Just how did you ever get that kind of, a clash? Because you sit on the same space and all of you are seeking to get these people to understand what it is that you sell. That is one thing that we'd love to know at some point in time. But coming to the key things that you have mentioned, church, you probably have been very successful on that. Compassion, maybe.
Compassion, 8 children's homes caring for 400 orphans today.
Wow, that is incredible. That is just something. Caring for one is a huge deal. So what of when we're talking about 400 and so, leadership, development, and peace building. Those are some of the things that we struggle with as the entire nation.
Yes, and that's why GOA is relevant in meeting the needs that concerns us. Because when we talk of leadership, it is the biggest challenge that we have.
Yes.
Because if we can resolve leadership problems, then we might probably even resolve the economics, and everything will rise or fall based on leadership. So we equip the leaders to spread the gospel, because again, if we just talk about leadership without the gospel, there is a gap missing, because it's just like the service, the humanity we are talking about today. Unless the heart of a person is transformed by a certain experience, it becomes difficult for that person to even see why they should be concerned or even involved with the need of another person.
Yeah.
And that experience that transforms the heart of a person is found in many religions, but in Christianity, it is the gospel. When we come into encounter with the Lord, with Jesus, and I'm glad you have asked me the question about other religions, because on the eve of Christmas, 24th, we met at the embassy of Iran with the ambassador and the sheikh from Kibera and other places between Islam and Christianity, and we had a conversation, long conversation.
Okay.
But the conversation is ended up in that, of course, we might be different, but there are also many things that unite us. And like when we come to talk about humanity and serving humanity, every religion upholds the aspect of serving humanity, and that is why it is not on the basis of which one or which other one.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So I think we would love to have that conversation. But leadership, if leadership is addressed, many problems would be solved. Even in our country, like the conversations we are seeing going around, is all about leadership.
Right.
It's all about leadership. And
what can we do to get it right?
What we do to get it right is have and equip the leaders with values, so that we have value-based leadership.
Right.
Now the reason we are focusing too much on tribal and ethnicity and all those other factors, young, old, and all that, is because we don't have value-based leadership. There are no things that we would say these are the core that really brings us together. These are the values that brings us together. And so every time we have to look for something to fill in that gap, because there's that gap of what will bring us together. And we also need to have leadership that has a vision that people can clearly see and be spelled out to help us as Kenyans, not only when we are just about to go to election or something like that. So I believe very strongly, and peace and conflict, there's no way we can do our economics, no way we can do our education or anything, or even religion, without peace.
If we don't get it right.
We have to get peace. That's why it is important.
All right, it's really important. This is one experience that you probably have had, that got you laughing in most cases? And I think we used to read in books the experiences that the people who brought the word to us had. This is a person you're giving the Bible, has probably never gone through the Bible, doesn't even know how to read. And I mean, the first thing you want to do is when you're going to preach the gospel, you tell them this is a book and this is what will be guiding you. I don't know what the experiences were like, but sometimes even when you're giving the newspapers, after you're done with the newspapers, you know what most of the people would do with it. What is this outrageous experience that you probably have had as you go out there to spread the gospel?
In 2004, when we went with the gentleman I may say is the honorable for Turkana Central today.
Yes.
That village, I had carried small New Testament Turkana Bibles.
Oh yes.
They had just come out.
Uh-huh.
And so I was excited that I'm taking the word to them. And so when we started giving them out, I saw one elderly man very excited and looking like smiling.
Okay.
So I asked, he was my interpreter, I asked John, why is he so happy? Ask him, let's hear why he's so happy to get the Bible.
Okay.
The man looks at him and says, because now I have enough papers to snuff tobacco for 1 year. And they are well organized. I just need to crack one at a time. And I said, wow.
Okay.
So I said, why would he think that way? Because that is his world.
But it's true. The people who sell njugu will tell you that they're always out here, hunting for papers so at least they can. And I'm saying this because I had a very close person who used to sell njugu. So most of the times, if they see such papers, it's a smile to them because they're going to use that for business.
And after all, the person has never been to class, so he doesn't know how to read or write.
Yes.
So when they later on say, if you can start for us a class here so that we read the Bible, it resonates with that experience. And,
right.
And then and that's why we do that.
All right, so that's a good one. And sadly, time is not really on our side. But I'm sure there are people who would love to get to you. Probably someone is watching here and they know that there's someone who would love to get help from you. Now that you talk of, hosting lots of people or lots of children who are out there in need and everything. I know it's work in progress. It's a process that is ongoing. Like you say, not everyone would qualify, but maybe someone who's watching us today would qualify. How do they get a hold of you? How do they get to go out there and search for that gospel that you probably would preach to them and would quench their problems and thirst?
Yes, whoever would be interested in getting to me and contacting me, I'm available. I'm always at not always, but most of the times I am at Kahawa Wendani.
Okay.
My office is at Kahawa Wendani, GOA. That's where our headquarters is.
All right.
Just at a place called Kwangeda right there at Kahawa Wendani. And most of the time I'm there. If I'm not there, there will be people. I have a team of 13 people there who are usually there or in the field. We serve the Lord there. I'm also on all the
social media. I would have asked you,
yes.
Are you that old school? I mean, there's no.
All of
if I Google today, I'd be able to get information.
If you Google Bishop David Munyiri Thagana, Bishop David Munyiri Thagana,
or GOA International, GOA,
GOA, either way, you find me in everything, all the way YouTube, Facebook, everything, all those things.
All right,
yes.
Bishop, I am really grateful for your time and for the incredible work that you're doing for humanity. And as I would say, it really requires a big heart. Some of us wish for the same, but just how to start is one thing that we keep wondering about. And even if you start, sometimes you just go halfway and you give up. So we are really grateful for that. And we're looking forward to have you some more, even as we get to expound some more on spiritual nourishment and growth and also leadership in the country, because you realize that at the place where we are headed, it is very important that we get guidance from church, we get guidance from the religious leaders. And I think these are conversations that we should be having time and again. It was really good having you this morning. And also for the feedback, thank you so much for sending us the feedback. It was good having you from the word go. And up until now, Bishop Thagana Munyiri, Executive Director, GOA International, it was good having you. And I'm looking forward to more, like I have rightfully put it. And you back at home, thank you so much for that. You can always take advantage of some of these conversations because you do not know what it would mean for you come tomorrow. We wind up at that as we look forward to another beautiful morning tomorrow on Matters Entertainment and technically what it is that we'll be having in store for you. So watch out for that. See you again. Bye-bye.